Hello students, welcome to Well Explained Pedia. Today I am here with class 10th biology chapter life processes, and in this section we are going to discuss about the nutrition in animals. Now why do animals need food? The question arises, why do we need food? Now animals need food for their growth and survival. You must have studied about various functions of food in your previous classes. The food is required to get energy for the growth, for the repair of the worn out tissues, and for the survival of the animals or the human beings. The food that animal eat is in complex form. जो भी खाना animals खाते हैं या हम खाते हैं, that is actually in complex form, which cannot be used by the body to get energy. Directly उससे हमें कोई energy नहीं मिलेगी. Thus, it has to be broken down into simpler substances so that the body can absorb the nutrients in it. ठीक है? They have to be broken down into simpler substances. That means whatever food we are eating, it has different nutrients, that is carbohydrate, proteins, fats, and they all are in complex form. So they must be broken down into simpler substances so that our body can absorb the nutrients which are present in it. Also, whatever food we eat, not all the food that we eat is digested and absorbed. Some part of it is excreted from the body as waste. Now, the process of nutrition in animals consists of 5 steps. They are ingestion, number 1. Number 2 is digestion. Number 3, absorption. Number 4 step is assimilation. And number 5 is digestion. These 5 steps are present in the process of nutrition in all of the animals. It starts with ingestion, that is taking in of food, and ends at digestion, that is expelling out the undigested food from the body. Now, first of all, we'll discuss about nutrition in amoeba. As you all know, amoeba is a unicellular organism. Unicellular organism means its body consists of only one cell. This amoeba lives in water and it feeds on microscopic organisms. It itself is a microscopic organism, that is, it cannot be seen through naked eyes. Only microscope is used to see this amoeba. When it senses food, that is, whenever food comes near the body of amoeba, it pushes out its pseudopores. Pseudopores are the false feet. Okay, pseudo means false, pores means feet. Actually, amoeba, the body of amoeba is irregular. एक ही सेल होता है और बहुत irregular shape होती है, कोई उसकी fixed shape नहीं होती है. So whenever it senses food or the food comes near the body of amoeba, it protrudes out its pseudopores around the food particle. Then it surrounds the food particle and forms a vacuole where these digestive juices are secreted to absorb all the nutrients from the food, and then it moves ahead. You can see this is the food which amoeba is sensing, and these are the pseudopods, that is pseudopodia. Okay. It's very difficult to write the mouse. Okay. So these are the pseudopods. In this slide, you can see this is for you especially. You can see this is the food. Okay. And this is amoeba. Whenever amoeba senses this food, it makes pseudopods. It protrudes it. Okay. This pseudopods देखिए आ रहे हैं और इन्होंने क्या किया है इस food को चारों तरफ से it has surrounded these food particles and made a food vacuole, and now this is going to be digested. Now coming to nutrition in human beings, that is we people. Now nutrition in human beings also consists of 5 steps, that are the ingestion, digestion, absorption, assimilation and egestion. So the first step is ingestion, and it is the process of the intake of the food. In this process, the food is acquired from the environment, and we human beings take in the food with the help of our hands. We put the food in our mouth, that is the buccal cavity. The food acquired is made available to the body for digestion through the buccal cavity. That means the first step, ingestion, is the intake of food. We take the food with the help of our hands and put it into the mouth. Now in mouth, the food is chewed by the teeth, and when the food is kept in the mouth, some watery substance comes into our mouth, that is the saliva, which is secreted by 2 glands which are present in our mouth, that are salivary glands, and the food is mixed with saliva to form bolus. This is not bonus, this is bolus, this is L. Then when it is mixed with saliva, chewed by the teeth, and which organ helps in mixing of the food with saliva, that is the tongue. The tongue is also present in the mouth, which helps in the mixing of the food with saliva, and when this bolus is formed, this food is swallowed down the esophagus through pharynx. Okay, now there is one muscular flap. It's a piece of cartilage, epiglottis. It covers the entrance to the trachea while swallowing to prevent food going into the lungs. In our neck, there are 2 pipes present. Windpipe, that is the trachea, and the food pipe, that is the esophagus. So whenever we are eating, okay, so what happens, this windpipe or the trachea is covered with a piece of cartilage which is known as epiglottis. इसलिए कहते हैं खाते वक्त बोलना नहीं चाहिए. If we'll talk while eating, what happens, sometimes this epiglottis is removed and the food, instead of going to food pipe, it moves to the windpipe and we get cough. Means that food from windpipe, if it reaches to lungs, if it at all it reaches to lungs, it may even lead to the death of the person. So never talk while eating the food. Now in the mouth, the digestion begins. Okay, there are 2 types of digestion: mechanical digestion, which is done by the teeth, that is the chewing. Break down food into smaller pieces by teeth to increase the surface area for enzyme action. This is known as mechanical digestion, also known as physical digestion. And the second is chemical digestion, that is enzymatic reactions which digest food into simpler chemical forms. The mechanical digestion means when as soon as we put the food into the mouth, the digestion starts. First is the mechanical digestion, means the breaking down of the food into smaller pieces by the teeth, as well as the salivary glands releases salivary amylase. Saliva contains an enzyme which is known as salivary amylase, which acts on carbohydrates and breaks into sugar. So the digestion begins in the mouth itself. Now from there, the food passes through the esophagus by the special movement of the muscles which are known as peristaltic movement. Peristaltic movement is done by the contraction and the relaxation of the muscles of the alimentary canal. Actually, food is passed throughout the alimentary canal by the movement of these muscles, peristaltic movement, which is known as peristalsis. Okay. So there is contraction and relaxation of the muscles and the food is pushed. Now from the esophagus, the food reaches to stomach. Here in stomach, 3 secretions are there. One is the enzyme pepsin. Second is dilute HCl. And the third secretion is mucus. All these 3 are the secretions in the stomach. Now, what is the function of pepsin? When the food reaches to the stomach, it stays here for about 2 to 3 hours. For the longest time it remains in the stomach. Now what happens, this is just like a grinder. Here the food is mixed with the this pepsin, dilute HCl, and mucus is there, which is there to protect the lining of the stomach from the action of the dilute HCl. Now pepsin acts on proteins. Okay, this is an enzyme which acts on proteins and breaks into smaller pieces which are known as peptones. Now, this dilute hydrochloric acid has two functions, important functions. One is that when the food is in the mouth, it is alkaline. So, when it enters the stomach, it is to be made acidic so that this enzyme pepsin can act on proteins. Means pepsin cannot act on proteins in an alkaline medium. So, this medium to be changed into acidic, which is done by dilute HCl. And the second function of dilute HCl is to kill any germs. If somehow any germ enters the stomach, so it kill those germs and prevents from infection. And this mucus has a special function that it the lining of the stomach is protected with the action of this dilute HCl because of this mucus. Now the process of now the third step is digestion. The process of breakdown of complex food components into simpler substances is called digestion. We all know this. The absorption of these simpler food components is called as absorption. When the food is broken down, the complex food is broken down into simpler substances. As we know, carbohydrates, they are broken into simpler sugar, proteins into amino acids, and fats into fatty acids and glycerol. These are the simplest substances out of these three. So what happens? These get absorbed in the blood, and this process is known as absorption. Now digestion begins in mouth with the grinding of food, physical digestion, physical breakdown or physical digestion or mechanical digestion, and then sugar is formed from starch present in the food by the by the action of salivary amylase enzyme present in the saliva. These two steps, they occur in the mouth. Okay, as I have already told you that the digestion begins in the mouth itself. Then the bile juice, now the from stomach the food has reached to intestine, but before we must discuss about the function of liver. This is a gland, this is the largest gland in human body, and the bile juice from the gallbladder, it act on the food coming from the stomach to convert its acidic nature into basic. माउथ में एसिड बेसिक नेचर था, स्टमक में उसको एसिडिक कराया गया by the action of dilute HCl. Now when it enters intestine, small intestine, it should be converted into basic, and this bile juice also helps in the emulsification of fats. Emulsification of fat means fat globules, they are broken down into smaller particles. This bile juice is secreted by the liver, but it gets stored in the gallbladder. Okay. Now digestion in the small intestine. The small intestine is the site of complete digestion, means the food is completely digested in this small intestine. All the three nutrients, that is carbohydrate, protein and fats, they gets digested completely in the small intestine. You can see this is this coiled structure is the small intestine. This is actually the lengthiest part of the alimentary canal, but it is known as small intestine. Why? Because of its narrow lumen, means its diameter is less, therefore it is known as small intestine. Otherwise it is the lengthiest part of the alimentary canal. Now enzymes in the intestinal juice, which is secreted by the small intestine, they convert proteins into final product, that is amino acids, the complex carbohydrates into glucose, and fats into fatty acids and glycerol. Okay. Now the digestion is completed in the small intestine, as well as the absorption of this simpler food or the digested food is also done in this small intestine only. Now the digested food now present in the small intestine is absorbed by the villi. Villi are the finger-like projections. You can see these are the finger-like projections. And what is the function of villi? They increases the surface area for the absorption of the digested food, and they are richly supplied with blood vessels, because after absorption the food goes to the blood, and from there it reaches to each and every cell of the body. Now the next step is assimilation. What is assimilation? It is the when the food is digested, it is absorbed, and now it has reached each and every cell of our body. Now this food gets assimilated, means it is utilized by our body for various functions. That means for getting energy or for repair of old tissues, etc. So these villi are richly supplied with blood vessels which take the absorbed food to each and every cell of the body, where it is utilized for obtaining energy, building new tissues, and the repair of the old tissues. Now, the unabsorbed food or the undigested food is sent into the large intestine, where more villi absorbs water from this material. Means if any excess water is there, it is absorbed in the large intestine. This is known as large intestine. It is not as much long as a small intestine. It is smaller in length, but then also it is known as large intestine because of its greater lumen or the diameter. Okay. Now the final step is the egestion, that is the rest of the material is removed from the body by the anus, and this process is called as egestion. Now digestion is completed. This is our digestive system, human digestive system. You can see the glands which are associated with the digestive system. They are the salivary glands, the liver and the pancreas. And these are the organs of digestive system, that is the oral cavity. From mouth the food enters, reaches to esophagus. From there it reaches to stomach, then small intestine, then large intestine. It is stored in the rectum for some time, and through anus it is taken out. And this is gallbladder which stores the bile juice. Now diseases of tooth. There are two diseases, most common diseases of tooth. They are the dental decay or the dental cavities and the gum diseases. Now, what is the cause of tooth decay? That is the bacteria which uh, the food that is remained in our mouth, the bacteria, it acts on it, decomposes and forms acids, forming the plaque. The bacteria produces acid which dissolves the enamel of the tooth. Enamel means the outer covering of the tooth. This you must have studied in your um, previous classes. This acid then penetrates into the dentine. It infects the pulp cavity which causes toothache. You can see the condition of the teeth. Now, how can we prevent this tooth decay? We must have a balanced diet which includes calcium, phosphorus and vitamin D. We should add fluoride in water to strengthen the enamel of the teeth. Don't confuse it with chlorine. Chlorine is a disinfectant which is added to water, but to give the strength to our enamel, we should uh, add fluoride. We should avoid sugary food and drinks between the meals. We should brush our teeth at least twice a day. वैसे तो it is advisable कि after taking every meal or after taking any sweet thing, you must brush your teeth. But if it is not possible, at least twice a day you must brush your teeth in the morning and before going to bed. Replace your toothbrush when it wears out. जैसे ही आपका टूथब्रश खराब हो तो उसको रिप्लेस कर देना चाहिए. You should not bite hard materials because it may damage the enamel of your tooth. And you should have a regular dental checkup. That is, at least once a year you must get your teeth checked. We should use dental floss to remove remain between teeth. कभी कभी खाना खाने के बाद हम कुछ ना कुछ फंस जाता है, तो हम क्या करते हैं, पिन की हेल्प से या ऑल पिन या नीडल की हेल्प से उसको निकालने की कोशिश करते हैं. So we should not do this. This is not a healthy practice. We should use a dental floss. It is a special type of thread which is used to take out the things which are in the after eating the food, they get into our teeth. Now you can see from this slide what we should eat: a lot of fruits and vegetables, but we like this which is not at all healthy. We should eat this. Lot of fruits and vegetables. We should have a healthy practice of eating all these things. Now, this is all about the nutrition in animals. Thanks for watching. Have a healthy day ahead. Please subscribe my channel and press the bell icon so that whenever I upload any video, you may get notifications. God bless you all.